We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another day of ConNooga. We're doing some more interviews today. We love technical difficulties, but we work our way through them. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Levi so we can get another interview done.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show here. I have the ever fantastic Mark Compton here, who is the sci-fi fantasy track coordinator head. Is this correct here?
Yeah.
Man about
the
town.
Squad.
He is the boot squad. Right, he's the guy, the man, the myth, the legend here. So you're here to talk to us about not only some panels, but one that you're actually pretty close to be doing pretty soon, right?
Yep. So 2 o'clock every Saturday for the con, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. is the Star Wars versus Star Trek debate. And it's 10 questions. I get people from the audience to volunteer to come up and sit in the chairs. 3 people for Star Trek, 3 people for Star Wars. We go through 10 questions. I have a judge who judges you based on how you answer the question as asked. So, like, even the judge doesn't have to have a whole lot of knowledge. They just, like, how well did they defend their argument, kind of a thing. And then at the end of it, whichever team wins, each member of that team is going to get $20 worth of con cash that can be used here in the Convention Center of Vendor Hall.
Fantastic. That sounds like a fun time to me.
It is my baby. I do it every year. It's what when Todd came up with the idea for ConNooga, I stood in the parking lot of McKay's and shook his hand and said, as long as ConNooga existed, this would be a ConNooga exclusive event.
I like it. So no other convention gets this experience, huh?
Not mine.
Not from you, anyway.
From the ones that I've seen, none of them are as good as mine.
Ooh, so often replicated, never true to form.
Yeah. But so the debate is the big thing for today for the sci-fi track. There's some Harry Potter trivia going on currently. There's a beginner's level Harry Potter trivia going on right now, and then later on there'll be an expert level. Later on tonight, we're going to talk about the Aliens series, like the Aliens franchise. Since Romulus came out, we're going to just kind of sort of dig into that. But like every year, we try to put together a whole plethora of things for people to come and enjoy.
I got you. So is it the same series of questions every year, or do we change these?
So I've got a friend of mine named Paul who lives in Arizona. Every year, he and I come up with 10 different questions. And then, like, every 5 or 6 years or so, what I will do is I will go back through the previous years because I have all of them saved, and I'll pull questions from those to do what I call, like, a flashback year. So this year is a flashback year. I do have a couple of unique questions for this year, but I've also got some flashback questions included this year. So, and then, like, I have a guest judge. Our guest judge this year is Betty Batt. She's a voice actress that's visiting us.
I saw her, yeah.
Since she's a voice actor, I have a question tailored specifically for her. So I try to tailor at least like when we had the actress who played Chiani here. I did questions based on like if both Han Solo and Captain Kirk were hitting on Chiani, who would get the chance to get her digits?
Topical.
Yeah. So like I try to cater it to who my guest judge is so that they feel as involved too.
I got you. Now, this is a bit of a tricky question, so we have to think about it for a second here. If it is okay, what is a question that we've had in the past for quality debate that is not being used today? Because I don't want to like spoil anything and ruin it.
Fair enough.
Safe one.
And I've actually got you. I don't have to think about that one. So this is a question I haven't brought up since, but the second year we did the debate, there's another one too that was a really good one that had a funny story with it. But so one of the questions I did was both of these series have shown women in a strong and positive light. Tell me how your series did it better.
Ooh, solid debate.
Yeah.
Diversity, inclusion.
The very first year we did the debate, I had the 501st debating the Klingon assault group. So we've got people cosplaying as stormtroopers, people cosplaying as Klingons. And the question I asked was, why did you choose this? Why was this what you chose to spend this much money?
This effort.
Yeah. And so the guy that was the Klingon stood up and he gave this great speech. He was like, when you look at a Klingon warrior, every Klingon warrior is unique and individual.
Right.
The ridges are individual. Yeah, the armor may be the same, but we're not faceless, masked automatons of some empire. We are the face of our empire. We're the glory of the empire. He gave this great 3-minute speech. It was beautiful. The stormtrooper that was answering the question was hungover, and he stood up, and he was wearing he had a stormtrooper armor on. He was wearing sunglasses. His bucket was on the table, and he took his sunglasses off, and he looks over at the Klingon that answered the question, and was like, "Dude, you're wearing chick boots." And then he gave this really great answer about, yes, y'all may be iconic, but when I walk down the street, people know what I am. Nobody has to ask what a Klingon, nobody has to ask what a stormtrooper is. Everybody might, like, some people might go, what the heck are you cosplaying as? Everybody knows what I am. Everybody knows what I represent. Everybody knows, this franchise. And he just gave this but he started it off with, dude, you're wearing chick boots. Because the Klingon had these boots that came up to here, and I died. It was one of my favorite ones.
Sometimes the simplest answer really does cut to the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the fact that he followed it up with like an intelligent, concise answer, but just that was his opener, and I was like, he's done.
Stop! You're killing him.
You could have stopped right there.
You think he would have won that debate just with that one sentence?
That one sentence, I think he would have, like, that question, he would have won it.
Was it the confidence? He's just like, dude.
Yeah. But, and he's right. Nobody, not a lot of people recognize Klingons out, out in the wild. But you will always recognize a stormtrooper. You will always recognize Darth Vader.
All right. It's one of those things I have to realize I'm not in the social norm because I would have. But I'm not
Well,
average.
I would have. I'm a Star Trek. At the end of the day, I'm a fan of both franchises, but my intro to sci-fi was Star Trek. So, that's where and this thing is my baby. I do it every year. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I love doing it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. So you mentioned that there were some other panels that we should be interested in as well?
Yep. So we've got, like I said, a little bit later on tonight, there's going to be expert level Harry Potter trivia. That's hosted by a great guy who comes back every year and brings it back. Got another panel tonight that's going to be discussing the Aliens franchise. Tomorrow morning, we're combining with the horror track to come in and discuss what books are you reading. So there's that, and then of course I've got a Fantastic Four panel for the comic book panel in the morning, where we're going to discuss the past of Fantastic Four movies and what we're expecting out of the new movie. So lots of stuff, and if you're here at the con, pull open your app. You're going to look through it. You're going to see stuff, and you're going to be like, there's two things at the same time that I want to do. Make a choice. That's what we want you to do. We want you to look at this 1 hour of programming and go, I have to decide. That's our goal. And if you don't choose sci-fi, if you choose to go to anime, I'm not going to be hurt. Go to anime if that's your thing.
At the end of the day, it's just application of free will.
Yeah, which is an illusion. Somebody walked by me yesterday and was like, free will is an illusion, just as they walked by me, and I was like, okay.
Sometimes you need a reminder.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, fine, whatever.
It's true. And it is one of those things of social norms exist because we choose to believe that they do exist, and so therefore they are.
Oh, no, I have a better theory than that. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, you should act normal, right?
Right.
Okay, there's no such thing as normal. Mm-hmm. And I will defend that to the death. So in order to define normal, you would have to find a large group of the population who thought the exact same about every single subject on the face of the planet. You're not going to find that. You're not going to find two people that can do that. Mm-hmm. So since you can't find a group to establish a norm, there is no such thing as normal. We are all abnormal.
No, you're right. And the idea of a social norm, in its truest sense, it's such a complicated subject there of and you're right, everybody has so many differences of what is actually a combination of normal. And that's, to me, one of the more beautiful things about a convention. We can all identify what is within the bounds of normalcy, but you're right, there is such an abnormalcy outside of it. It doesn't really matter.
Right. And then when you get to a convention, you get to interact with all kinds of different people, and it also exposes you to other fandoms that you may not have known about. Like, you see somebody in a cosplay, what's that? Oh, this is from this. Oh, where can I watch that? Where can I see that? Oh, it's over here. So you get to educate yourself. too while you're here.
Yeah, no, I will admit there are things that I've been at other conventions like, oh, what's that unusual costume? And they'll explain it like, man, I should watch that show. That's wild, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I just actually, before I came in here, I did a panel on, so I've tried for many years to get into Babylon 5. So I did a panel of Babylon 5 is overrated. Please change my mind. And it wasn't I'm here to bash on Babylon 5. I need
tell me
people
why it's
who
good.
are fans to come and tell me why it's good. And I had 10 people show up. I'm going to spend the next year watching it, and I'm going to come back next year with I have now watched Babylon 5, and I have feelings.
Right? Yeah. What are our feelings about this?
Yeah,
here?
so we're going to see.
It's had an exorbitant amount of fans,
Yeah, but
so it must be doing something right.
yeah, the first time I did this, but the thing is the first time I did the panel was a couple of years ago, and nobody showed up. So I was like, well, this must not be worth defending. And this year I had 10 people showed up, and the group of people that showed up for today, they sold me on it. So I'm going to go home and start watching it.
Well, fair enough. Besides, there's so much fun media to consume nowadays.
Way too much.
That is its own unique problem now. I think about like when I was a kid, like there were like 2 or 3 cool like superhero nerdy shows that I'd watch, and now that I have like several hundred I can pull from.
Dude, you're in about the same age group I'm in. Forget 2 or 3 different shows. We only had 3 channels.
It's true.
3 channels, and you had to get up and walk across the room to change it. Now we've got
Someone
like,
lost the remote.
yeah, no, I was the remote.
That's the next line that comes
Like-
next. That's what they say afterwards.
Funny part about that, when we first got a TV with a remote control, my dad got up, went to make a sandwich, walked past the TV, went to make a sandwich, left the remote in the kitchen, came back, walked past the TV, sat down on the couch, wanted to change channel, got up, walked back past the TV again to go get the remote. And I'm like, Dad, what are you doing?
That's the most instinctual thing I've ever heard in my life.
I was like, but he went all the way back into the kitchen, passed the TV 2 more times, got the remote, came, sat back down, and changed channel. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Man, ADHD. It's
Mine's
rough.
bad. Damn it.
I'm just gonna hold on to it for you.
No, I'm trying to get an answer to that question you asked me earlier.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
And I'm not getting it.
It's
Nobody's
not,
answering me.
It's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. Let's see. Generational changes like that between sci-fi and pop culture. There's been such a movement of more acceptance nowadays. Like here's one. This is one I like to point out. When I was a teenager, like at the height of me about to graduate high school, episode 3 of Star Wars was coming out, and I do remember clearly a distinctual movement of not being cool. Anything I was into that was nerdy and whatnot, people were like, whatever, I don't want to talk to you. And like that was the end of that, and I accepted it, and it was fine. That's just the way culture was back then. And
Yeah.
it was that world. But there was a day, and I was in a bookstore just reading something. I don't know what I was reading. One of my million comics that I like. And there were 2 very conventionally attractive teenage girls, very similar to my age. They looked like they were cheerleaders or something like that. And they had like a book that was open about Star Wars Episode 3, and they were gawking over Anakin Skywalker. And they definitely looked like they were popular girls, like no question about this there. And I had this kind of moment. I was just like I'm not in their world, but like they're enjoying,
they have migrated to
my world here. And like they're not making fun of him, and like it's, Hayden Christensen was absolutely a heartthrob, especially back in those days, and many people still argue now, and that's fine if you're into it. But like it was a bit of a culture shock for me in that moment because like it was changing, it was becoming more socially acceptable nowadays, and now it is pretty well the passing norm for most people.
I think when it clicked for me is how many people were like into Stranger Things,
That's a good one.
and the fact that I was like, that was my life. Like I was that kid in the
Right,
80s.
the outcast.
Like I was that kid. Like I had one jock tell me one day that nobody wanted to sit with me and my friends, and I was like, well, you know why? Because they don't understand us. You have people not wanting to sit with you because you frighten them.
That was a solid comeback.
Oh, dude, I was all full of comebacks in high school. I was smart aleck. I got in way too mine fights because my mouth wrote checks that I thought I could cash.
All right, well, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you need to do a little bit of travel here. Where can we find you later?
So sci-fi and fantasy is all taking place in room 3. So it's down right just as you actually, when you come in registration, it's that first hall right there. So if you've got your tickets, just take a left. And then we're in there all the way up to tonight until about 11, and then we'll be back in there tomorrow morning at about noon. And then and then I'll be at closing ceremonies just to find out what everybody thought about this year's con and how we can make it better for next year.
So tell me, do we have any ideas of who's going to win, Star Wars versus Star Trek?
So far,
Feel
Star
anything?
Wars has the lead.
Oh.
Yeah, it's currently, I think it's a good swing of, God, I got to count many years. So out of all the years that we've been doing it, Star Trek has won 5 times. And we've been doing this since 2006 because I had it for 2 years before ConNooga came into existence. And then when Todd created ConNooga, I was like, it's yours from here on out. So 2006 till now is what, 19 years?
And they only won 5 times.
Minus 1 for COVID, so 18. So yeah, it's currently Star Wars 13, Star Trek 5. So I'm hoping Star Trek gets a win this year, just because I'm a Trek geek.
Right. But again, like, this is what I say, like, if it's in that pop culture, nerdy media kind of thing, I'm watching it.
Yeah. Well, come on down. It's 2:00.
We'll see what
If you're lucky, I'll put you on the panel.
If I had the time, I would. I really would.
Now y'all can come and film it. You film Levi on the panel.
I got you. Well, anyway, folks, this has been ConSuite Media. My name is Levi. This is
I'm
the
Mark.
ever fantastic Mark right here. And come see us here at ConNooga. Cool. Clear. Thanks again for another fantastic interview.
Thanks for having me.
Don't worry, we'll have that one copied properly.
I'm still waiting on